Let's fucking go, man. I am here. I am watching Destiny, aka Steven. This is going to be so fun. Okay. I have not seen this video before. I am about to watch Steven debate a shit ton of conservatives, and he's almost certainly going to be better at debating than they will be. So it's going to be interesting to see how it goes. I am going to interject and correct everyone when they're wrong. And I'll stick up for people when they're right. So let's proceed. My fellow mortals.
Listen, you solve this for me, then maybe I become religious tonight. The question at the end of the day is like, there's like one of two different.
I'll make you religious, Stephen. I guarantee you I can do it. Actually, I'll just persuade you that you are already religious. But that's the same thing if you acknowledge it.
Two different types of people. So like you can either believe that black people are more likely to be adversarial to cops or have higher recidivism or more likely to victimize each other because of like social factors that have contributed to this, that there's like a pretty adversarial history between black people and society or black people and the police, or you can believe that there's some innate quality of a black person that predisposes them towards that.
This is a false dichotomy, and therefore it's not true. In the context that you're using this, Stephen, you're just wrong. Flat out wrong. I know that you're smarter than that, but unfortunately, you're not presenting as smarter than that, so I have to criticize you on the merits of what you said. Therefore, I have to bring to the audience's attention the fact that you're presenting a false dichotomy. It's not true that you either have to believe that there's something innate to black people that makes them more violent, or that it's all societal factors. Any person with two functioning brain cells should be able to acknowledge the fact that it's obviously both. And then the conversation is to what degree, okay? And the part, anyway, let's not get ahead of ourselves.
If you believe in the former, like I do, then you seek to reform and move society in a direction as much as you can to make it so that those people feel more accommodated, so that crime and other things aren't in the equation for them. If you
LOL. I don't even believe that you honestly believe that would work to solve the problem. But feel free to change my mind. I'm going to change yours, though. Forewarning.
If you believe in the latter, then I don't know if you push for eugenics or the deportation of all black people. I don't know at that point like what the plan is, but a person who.
It is a scientific fact that black people are genetically more violent than white people. Okay? It's also a historical fact that black people have a few other reasons for disliking white people, other than or rather see, the logic doesn't even make sense there. Disliking white people doesn't mean being more violent. That's not a one-to-one causal link there, or even close. So it's a massive stretch on your end, and then my end is just pure logic. So it's just a totally losing proposition for you intellectually. But I understand that you're not doing an intellectual argument. No one who does this argument from the other side makes an intellectual argument. It's always emotion. But anyway, my point is, it's really it's a shameful indictment of you that you genuinely don't understand or know of, or don't seem to be able to imagine any righteous or moral or upstanding or centrist, truth-oriented science. For the sake of knowledge, you don't respect the truth for its own sake. It's a very, very pernicious form of science denial, Stephen, and I'm not going to let you get away with it.
Who
I'm not saying necessarily because I believe in the latter, but
and just to finish my point, other than indicting you shamefully for not being able to imagine good reasons to want to know true things, okay? Being true should be enough to want to know them, but more than that, well, not more than that. And apparently I have to explain that to you, Stephen. If something is true, then acting like it isn't the case or acting without the knowledge of its truth gives us less power over our circumstance. The more true things we know, okay, this is the whole concept of science, okay, Stephen? The more true things we know, the more power we have. The more power we have, the better of a world we can create. The longer we can live, the healthier, the happier, etc. This is an ironclad principle. Now, do people have the capability to use knowledge in bad ways? Yes, of course. That's fucking obvious. Anyone can use anything in a negative way. That's irrelevant. That has to do with teaching people morality. That has nothing to do with facts and what is true and what is not true. I care about what is true, and I care about people living morally also. What do you care about? It doesn't seem to be the truth. And it doesn't seem to be morality either. So what is it?
He goes around debating right-wingers. He has a pretty extensive channel. I know some of you know him, but some of you may not. I've seen a lot of his content. I thought he would be a good person to bring on because he's pretty competent. He's actually pretty good debater. So I want you all to be introduced to his ideas. I know a lot of us get only like the college SJW compilation kind of bit bite of liberal ideas. So I want to bring on somebody who could actually talk deeply about these things and somebody who could actually maybe change your mind. So is there anything you'd like to tell us, Justin? Anything about yourself that you'd like us to know? Because I know some of these people here don't know much about you.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I do politics online.
You're muted, by the way.
Yeah, I know that. Yeah, I knew that. Sorry, I was talking to someone else, of course. I typically do politics online. I think my political beliefs could be characterized as pretty far left socially and then pretty center left economically. I'd be most broadly categorized as a social democrat, basically.
Oh, really? A social democrat?
Yeah.
Okay, so would you align yourself with people like Vaush or Bosch, if that's how you say it, or Sean and more
when you say Sean, absolutely not. No.
Okay, but Vaush, you would?
Vaush and me appeared to be close in terms of his stated positions, but Vaush would probably be the closest socialist type person that I would be aligned with, I guess. Yeah. So we'd probably be fairly close-ish. There's a couple lines that he'll go over that I probably wouldn't.
So you wouldn't describe yourself as a typical liberal?
No, I'd say I'm very much a typical liberal. I don't think the typical liberal, at least in the United States, is a socialist.
Oh, okay. So I guess the first topic we'll go over, the most recent topic that everybody should know right now, is Dr. Seuss books got canceled, this whole cancel culture thing. And I wanted to get your take on, is cancel culture a legitimate thing? Is this real? And is it good for us? It's
LOL. This framing is so worthless. Is it a real thing?
Is it good to inculcate a culture where canceling happens? Because I know a lot of the right-wing opinion is that canceling is inherently evil and that's bad, and it only happens to right-wingers. So I want to get your take.
I think
my right-wing position is not that this only happens to right-wing people. My right-wing position is that this is unacceptable no matter who it happens to, no matter what the scale or the frequency, and no matter what the identity of the individuals involved. Period. End. the left and a small minority of the right disagree with me because they're fucking cowards.
I think canceling is pretty dumb generally. I'd say, to be very clear here, for the Dr. Seuss thing, though, I'm pretty sure they decided that they wanted to stop publishing like 6 of the books that were being put out. Personally, I think it's kind of dumb, but I mean, there's a lot of other stuff we can read besides Dr. Seuss. There's like, I think there's like a reasonable position that you can take on both sides of this, where I would say that like going out of your way to cancel older stuff is really dumb, but like being obsessed with older media and saying that this is the only stuff we can read until the end of time is equally stupid.
That's a straw man.
So yeah, I mean, like, I personally, I'm not like a huge fan of trying to cancel old media. I think it's dumb. I think we should be able to see the nuance in it. But then also, I think it's equally stupid when I guess generally conservatives like want to obsessively use old media until the end of time. Like,
that's a straw man.
There's probably newer stuff we can read as well that more closely resembles the values that we have today.
Okay, do you think this is canceling is inherently attacking conservatives? Or do you think it's general in the political spectrum?
No one's saying fucking only. Yes, until the end of time. Yes, absolutely. Some things are worth until the end of time. Nobody is saying fucking only, Steven. Get fucked.
I think everybody will try to media until the end of time. Like, there's probably newer stuff we can read as well that more closely resembles the values that we have today.
Okay, do you think this is canceling is inherently attacking conservatives? Or do you think it's general in the political spectrum?
I think everybody will try to cancel people for whatever they can. I think that right now we typically see it coming more from the left because the left kind of has more corporate power behind them to cancel people. But I think that when the right could cancel people, the right would cancel people as well. And then they do exercise it as much as they can. So like I would say like Trump going after Kaepernick is an example of somebody.
No, absolutely true that the left is more censorious than the right. And I can prove it to you logically. Just think about it. What is the left? What is the most extreme ideal or archetype of leftism? It's communism. And what is the most extreme ideal or archetype of right-wingers? It's fascism. So what is the difference between a fascist and a communist? I'm going to explain it to you very slowly and clearly. The only difference is a communist is a fascist who is lying about being a fascist. Get it? Okay? So by that analysis alone, I've totally raped your claim that it's anything close to equivalent. Like, even if you could show that it is like 70% equivalent, which I highly doubt, that's like the largest number that I'm willing to believe. I'm sure it's much less equivalent than that. Even if it was like 70, 75% equivalent, that's a massive disparity between the left and the right. You cannot say that those two things are equivalent at all. When you're talking about censorship, when you're talking about free speech, what's more important than free speech? This is what we fought and died for, to create this country. Just to have that. And you pieces of shit want to take it away by hook or by crook.
Somebody trying to cancel somebody, where he disagreed with the political stance that he had. He tried to get him fired and excised from the media. Trump going after media can be like a form of cancellation.
Guess what? Any conservative that tries to cancel anyone, any other conservative or any leftist or any centrist, anyone at all, any conservative who tries to cancel anyone, and by cancel I mean censor, okay? Actual force censorship, okay? Like they do to me and Trump, etc. And 1,000 others. Any conservative that's engaging in force censorship of another individual, any other individual or individuals, is hereby expelled from the Republican Party indefinitely, pending their true regret of their actions. not professed regret, true regret.
What's his name? Cernovich going after the James Gunn guy, was him trying to get him canceled. Like, I would say that this happens on both sides, but right now the left is more effective at doing it because they have more corporate power behind them.
No. It's because they care so much more. That's why. Republicans don't sit around in large throngs of malnourished, whining losers thinking about how to censor their opponents. They think about how to force their opponents to speak to them, how to force their cowardly opponents to speak to them out in the open, where they can shame their pathetic and ridiculous ideas until they don't exist anymore. That's what conservatives like myself, that's what we think about. Okay? Whoever the fuck you're talking about, I do not recognize them as a conservative, and I hereby expel them from the Republican Party indefinitely, as I just said.
Yeah, so I don't remember if this is recent, but I know a lot of your statements got you in trouble with the left. They all came after you. I saw some leftists posting online about how you were secretly a white supremacist and stuff like that. I think it was in Kenosha.
Yeah, people call me. Yeah, people try to cancel me and everything, of course. Yeah, or I get canceled. Yeah, so.
Yeah, so now for the cancel culture stuff, you generally say it's dumb, but do you think there is like a legitimate reason we should cancel people?
So I'm probably more extreme on this than most people. I really don't care that much about what somebody's done. I care more about what I think they're going to do. So, like, the idea of vilifying somebody for mistakes that they've not only made, but they've made and recognized as mistakes, I think is really, really, really stupid. I think that the time to quote unquote cancel somebody is when they've made a mistake that they haven't atoned for, or when they're likely to make those same mistakes over and over again. So, for instance, if it comes to light that somebody had been involved in a lot of like really malicious or bad behavior, then I think that's like.
And when you support canceling, what do you support? What actions do you support to enact that canceling, Stephen? Do you support forced censorship? If so, you're a piece of fucking goddamn shit.
Like worth quote unquote canceling somebody over. It's like Bill Cosby, I think, is a good example of like a whole bunch of stuff comes to light, like this person should be canceled, and then also prosecuted and everything. But I think the idea of like there's like a leader of some organization or that works somewhere, and you find out that he tweeted something dicey like 5 or 10 years ago. I mean, as long as they're not engaged in that behavior now, we don't feel like they're going to do it going forward. I think that's really stupid.
Okay, yeah, I like that opinion. Pretty reasonable right there. So yeah, I agree with that. I don't know if everybody else in chat agrees with that too, but it's pretty shocking because I know a lot of the typical mind that we have on liberals is that they're all these like crazy, incompetent college kids who have these like outside opinions about canceling and destroying people's lives. So I'm really appreciative that you have these more nuanced opinions and you're coming here to talk to us about it. But so I wanted to get on another topic about. Somebody wanted me to talk about this, but transgenders. We have the Biden has the transgender person as his Department of Health position, and I know a lot of right wingers. I'm sure they have opposing views on this with transgenders, but for the transgender question, do you think that transgenderism is how would you describe this whole gender thing that we've all come upon in this new culture? Like, now there's more than two genders. There's a lot of the right wings that biology, but I mean, the left wing stance is all we have like Ben Shapiro videos describe us the left wing stance. We've never really gotten to like a educated left wing opinion on why there's more than like two genders.
So I think the problem, this is like a really complicated question, and it kind of involves the analysis of a lot of things that we kind of just assume to be true. And it requires the breaking down of a lot of concepts. I would say that like on the simplest level of analysis we can do is we can understand that there are a lot of things that have to do with quote unquote gender that I would say are kind of socially defined. So as an example of this, I'm 32. When I grew up, men just don't wear jewelry. It was seen as a very like, if you do this, you must be gay or secretly a girl or something like. But that's like a standard that we've seen change like pretty significantly over time. I remember in the early mid 2000s there was the whole like metrosexual movement, and some people got upset by that. Some people embraced it. So I would say that there's a lot of like socially defined concepts related to gender, and if you dig like really deep into the biology, there can be like a lot of strange socially defined parts of even things like sex. So for instance, some people will be quick to point out that like, well, actually we know that if you have an XX chromosome pair or an XY pair, we can definitely say what sex you are. But it's possible that you can have an XY chromosome pair, but have like an androgen insensitivity, and you never present as a male ever. Like you'll have a total like female body through and through, and you won't actually know unless you go and get tested for it to figure out like the chromosome pair. There's a name for this, a W name for this type of condition. Now, some people will point out, well, these are only edge cases, blah, blah, blah. And sure, they can be edge cases. But I think that our understanding of gender and sex can be, if we are like a little bit more nuanced in terms of how we understand it, I think that there is room in our currently existing understanding of reality for trans people to exist. And as long as they're not doing anything that like bothers you, which
this conversation is so boring for me.
Most of them don't. I don't see why anybody would have a problem with it. I think it gets a little bit I think it's a little bit of an overreach to try to regulate to other people, how they can identify personally or the types of areas in society that they can exist in. So maybe not causing harm to anybody else.
Okay, so would you say that sex and gender are completely the same, or are they two different concepts?
They're definitely different things. Definitely. Are you kidding?
I would say that these are I think these are clearly two different concepts. I would say, yeah. Sex seems to be something that we analyze more on like a descriptive, like biological level. Like here are a couple of facts, and then we've grouped these facts, and then we tend to call one side male, we tend to call one side female. I think that our experience of gender is like a far more socially driven thing than like a hard science thing. Like it's very rare that I like if I open a biology book, for instance, it's going